Like many of you, Passover has always been one of my very favorite holidays. Now, at this point, 6 days into eating matzah, I'm a bit less enchanted by it. I don't know about you. But this holiday and its rituals are some of the most powerful and meaningful of our tradition, in my estimation. Growing up, I always loved cooking in the kitchen with my mom and my sister and my grandma and my great-grandma. I loved hearing about my great-grandmother's stories about her childhood and cooking with her mom and sisters, of which she was 9 children. I loved being part of the chatter and the excitement and the hustle and bustle of preparing our home. I loved the cooking and the baking. I loved that my great-grandmother acted as our head chef, managing the kitchen and delegating responsibilities, moving around the kitchen telling us we needed a pinch more salt or a cup more of matzah meal. I loved the smell of matzah kugel baking. I did not love the smell of gefilte fish. And no surprise here, I loved the rituals of the holiday, the careful presentation of the Seder plate, the drama around breaking the middle matzah, and the thrill of being the one to find the afikomen. But what I loved most was that I got to ask questions. Passover is where I first learned that what Judaism values more than knowing the right answer is asking the right question. Around the Seder table filled with my aunts and uncles and grandparents and cousins, I was challenged to think differently, to dive into the text and the tradition and to be curious and reflective, to not only accept the answers that were presented, but instead to push myself and the people around me to go deeper and to find new meaning around timeless traditions and time-honored texts. One year I asked a question that nobody around the table knew the answer to, and I felt like I had won the lottery. All of these learned people who knew everything there was to know, at least that's what I thought at age 5, and they didn't know how to answer my question. It was a core memory, to say the least. And after a long discussion about possible solutions and explanations, my cousin finally told me that he would take it upon himself to find the answer. And then some time went by and I forgot about the question, but he didn't. He came back to next year's Seder having researched the answer. And I was over the moon. My question wasn't just something that the grown-ups had brushed off, his actions told me. My question, and therefore my presence at the Seder, were important. After that, I made it my mission to ask the most challenging and esoteric question I could come up with each and every Passover, in the hopes of once again stumping everybody. And every year, this challenge of asking the right question brought me to the Seder excited and curious, waiting to jump into that ritual. In hindsight, this probably should have been an early clue about my future in the rabbinate. And because my family made it clear that not only were children welcome at the Seder, but that their presence was actually central to it, Passover soon became the holiday that I looked forward to most, because I knew that I had a place at that Seder table, that it was meant for me. It was meant to be a safe place to be curious, to wonder, to offer my opinion, even if it wasn't the right one, to be free to challenge the perspectives of people who knew far more than me. I loved learning that the holiday wasn't just a series of strange hand-washing rituals and song, and that the haroset and the maror weren't just snacks before dinner. No, they were there to help us see ourselves as slaves in the land of Egypt, reaching out for God who answered and freed us with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. And I soon came to learn that this wasn't just happening around my Seder table. It wasn't just my family making me feel good because they're kind and nice people, which they were and are. The purpose of this holiday and the ritual of the Seder is, in fact, to teach the next generation, to engage the next generation so that they find meaning and understanding in the story of our people, and that they will in turn teach it to their children, L'dor Vador. And so our Haggadah tells the story of 4 children. Every year we read it. One wise, one wicked, one simple, and one silent. These children represent 4 archetypes, 4 different ways that a child could respond to what they're experiencing as they confront the ritual of Seder. The wise one asks, what are the testimonies, the statutes, and the law which God has commanded you? The wicked one asks, what does this service mean to you? The simple one asks, what is this? And the silent one, the one who doesn't even know how to ask the question, says nothing. The wise children are the ones who experience the Seder by seeking meaning through text and through law. They're fascinated by ritual and complexity in our tradition. They soak up the Seder and the symbols, and they want to dive deep into the text. They want to be part of the story, and they understand the intricacies of the laws that make Passover different from any other holidays. They thirst for knowledge. These children who learn are the ones by partaking in discussion, and for ritual, these are the people who Seder feels comfortable and welcoming. This is how they learn best. They ask a question, and the answer is offered. But even the wise ones struggle, we know, because Judaism isn't only about retaining information and regurgitating answers. It's more than that. And so we are asked to push the wise child to dive deeper, to seek not only information, but to search for deeper meaning, to not only ask about the laws that God has commanded, but to push them to wonder how those laws and those rituals can lead them to a place of spiritual growth and understanding of the world that we live in today. The simple child represents the curiosity and the wonder that I think are essential to Judaism, because they make Judaism into a living tradition and they make Torah into a living text. These children ask, what is this? Not because they're simple, not because they don't have the skills to learn about the laws and the rituals that the wise one asked about, but because I think they recognize that a living, breathing, ever-evolving Judaism breeds differences in practices and rituals and traditions. I think they see that Judaism takes on new and exciting frameworks as it's introduced to a community whose interpretations could be as myriad as the stars in the sky. They ask, what is this? Because they want to know, what is it to you and to you and to you and to you? And how might learning what our answers mean could lead to meaning in their lives? We can't make the mistake of understanding simple questions to mean simple intentions. For as any philosopher will tell you, it's the simplest questions that lend themselves to the most expansive answers. The one who doesn't know how to ask reminds us that Judaism isn't something that we do by rote memorization or by recitation of text. There isn't one right way of doing anything. And prayer is more than just opening a book and saying the words. It's also intention and movement, thought and wonder. It goes beyond the physical, and I think it ascends to the spiritual if we do it right. This child is rendered speechless, perhaps, by awe and wonderment, and is silent not because he's uninterested or doesn't know, but perhaps because she's reached a peak of spiritual understanding that might transcend speech. It's not that he doesn't know how to ask. He might just not need to, because sometimes Judaism isn't about questions or even about answers, it's about feelings. But it is the wicked child, I think, who perplexes me the most. The wicked child who gets perhaps the worst reputation. The wicked one asks, what does this mean to you? And the Haggadah interprets this to be laced with sarcasm and contempt and disdain, an insult to the community and a purposeful disinterest as she tries to remove herself from the story. But what if the question is really just that, a question? A genuine question of curiosity, perhaps ineloquent as it is phrased, but a question nonetheless, an attempt to be part of the story. Perhaps the question isn't asked the way that I or you would want it to be asked, but since when do we get to dictate what constitutes a perfect question? I've often wondered if it's actually the wicked child who gets to the very core of what it means to be Jewish. The wicked child seems to tell us, tell me your story so that I can try it on for myself and see if it fits. The wicked child who asks, why should these ancient laws and rituals matter to me? Why should they have a place in my life today? It's the wicked child who wonders, so what now? What do I do now? The wicked child, I believe, challenges us to answer the question of relevancy. Why should this story matter? Why should we relive it every year? What do we gain from that experience? In the midst of everything that's happening around us in the world today, why should this ritual and this tradition and this story demand my attention? Make this relevant to my life, the wicked child begs us. And when we can't quite get there or we choose not to, it's the wicked child who pushes us further, who borders on making us uncomfortable when we haven't done our jobs. She says, I don't yet see myself as part of this community. Help me to find my place. Show me that this is part of my life, and that while I may not say or do what you want me to do, or think how you think I should act, that I too belong here, that my presence is an essential part of our collective story. Please, he silently cries out, tell me that I belong here. 4 children, one wise, one wicked, one simple, and one who doesn't know how to ask. It seems straightforward when we read it on its surface, but it's not. It is so much more beautiful and more complicated and complex than that. And it takes all of us, our entire community, to tell the story and teach the traditions of our people to the next generation. It will take all of us to teach the wise children that Judaism is more than what it appears on the surface and urge them to dig deeper. And it will take all of us to nurture the sparks of curiosity that are inside all of our children, not just those who relish the beauty of a simple question. And it will take all of us to create space for awe and wonder, recognizing that some questions can be asked without ever speaking that question aloud. And it will take all of us to help formulate those questions in ways that we can all be part of answering. But perhaps most importantly, it will take every single one of us to help our young people see themselves as part of our Jewish community, to embrace this next generation of Jews who are our future, and to affirm that who they are, as perhaps imperfect human beings, which we all are, is the future of Judaism because they are the future of Judaism. To tell every person unequivocally and in one unified voice that they are not wicked and that they are not ancillary, but that they are actually essential for us to be whole. These 4 children give me, and I hope by extension all of us, hope for what tomorrow brings. And believe me, I have the privilege, we all do, of seeing the future of the young people in our community. I see the wise children, the curious ones, the silent ones, and even, yes, the self-labeled wicked ones. I see them as they grapple with their Torah portions, even while they sometimes say they wish they weren't there. I see the sparkles in their eyes and the smiles in their faces as they dance at Tot Shabbat. I see them dive into tefillah with gusto and delight as they lead their peers in prayers. I hear their sweet voices sing together, complete with giggles interspersed between the words. I see the joy they feel in chasing their friends around our community court as they make plans for their joint Purim costumes. I see that our future is in great hands, and I saw it just last Sunday at our community Seder, when our children proudly stood in front of their entire community asking those 4 questions. We see it here every day. And Passover is just our yearly reminder that we have been given the incredible gift and the great responsibility of nurturing that future. May we continue building that connection from this Passover to the next. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.